You're listening to the Plane Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carlos Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 173 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings and I'm not in the kitchen studio. I'm not in the lounge studio. I'm not even anywhere near Matt Smith, my co-host, because I am across the other side of the UK.
Indeed, yes, ladies and gentlemen, he has left me in the studio all on my own, and frankly I'm wreaking havoc. That's why we're starting late. Everything that could have gone wrong today with me here in the studio on my own, and despite the assistance of our newest co-host, we are massively 20 minutes late with our live broadcast. So anyway, everybody, including APG, will be laughing at my great expense. Anyway, take it away, Carlos.
So joining us as always this week, his second week in the hot seat as well, is our illustrious co-host at large, Mr. Neville Bounds.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Carlos. I'm a bit scared today. This is obviously my second appearance and things are going wrong. So I wish I was in the same studio as Matt to try and help.
You have
anyway,
no
here we
idea.
are, and it's all going terribly well so far.
Indeed. You have no idea how much I wish you were in the studio here, Nev. You have no idea.
So joining us to make sure things are keeping in a safe kind of realm, it is our legendary man of everything that's to be safe. It is the host of the Plane Safety Podcast, Pilot Pip.
Hey everybody, evening Nev, Carlos, Matt. Hope everyone's well.
Yes, I think so. We're sort of survived another week. That's all we can hope for. Indeed. So yes, I think
it is the 14th of July. Then it's Friday. It's just coming up to 7:20, so we're a few minutes late, not very late. It's kind of keeping within the usual the lateness that we normally try and stick to. And we've got loads of people in the chat room joining us tonight in the virtual chat room on YouTube. Mariana, Mark Harvey, Philip Davies, Jeff. We've got Captain Jeff in the chat room. We better be on our best behaviour. Mariana, Liz Piper, Julian Garwood, Mark Harvey, Richard King. Hope I haven't missed anyone else.
Glenn Towler.
Glenn Towler is in there as well. My word, we've got, God, it's from all, Falco, 1983, Masha as well is in the chat room as well.
Carlos Stebbings.
Oh yeah, I'm in there. Yeah, I've got to be in there. Oh, someone called Pilot Pip, he's in there as well. Lane Street. And Shorty Crosgrove as well. Hello to you, Shorty Crosgrove. And welcome to everyone who has joined us on the live show tonight. We've got loads of news stories to get through in the show tonight, as well as another legendary segment from Nev on the passenger experience. Any quick sort of tidbits of what tonight's segment's going to be about, Nev?
Yeah, well, just continuing the theme of interviewing my industry colleagues, because most of them do fly a lot or have flown a lot in the past. And yeah, we're just talking about the same old story. Didn't talk too much about British Airways this week, though, I'm pleased to say. But I met up with my guest on Tuesday this week and in a Starbucks. And yeah, did a quick interview and then put it in the can and sent it over to Matt.
Obviously, other
Can I
coffee
give a
shops are
shout
available.
out to someone at BA? As Nev will know, I often have a bad word to say about BA. But get this, this is shocking, absolutely shocking.
Everyone sat down, yes.
Sit down for this, yeah. Jeff, hold on to your wig. This is going to blow your mind. On a BA flight to Prague a few days ago, they gave me a free cup of tea.
What?
Free.
Holy mackerel, that's frightening. Hang on a minute. They don't charge you for cups of tea, do they, on British Airways?
It was unbelievable.
Well,
no, they don't.
No. Okay.
Someone took pity on me. Free cup of tea.
Did they? Wow.
How about that? Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a free cup of tea.
So I take everything back that I've ever said about BA. I love them.
Perhaps they saw your name on the manifest and thought, oh no, we just we don't want more negative publicity.
Keep him quiet.
Indeed. Anyway, it's time to move on, guys, while all this is only just holding together. As I say, we are having a few technical problems in the studio, so literally anything could happen. I won't lie, I'm a bit nervous. So, Carlos, I think we should get underway.
Okay, so we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So I dread to say this, if you're ready, Matt.
Yes, I think so.
And if you're ready, Nev.
Yep, all good.
Pip.
Yes, sir.
Let's go. So, kicking off this week's first news story on the UKBusinessInsider.com. And the headline is, "It's War. American Airlines cuts ties with two of its biggest rivals in huge airline dispute." So on Wednesday this week, American Airlines announced its decision to sever its codeshare agreements with Etihad and Qatar Airways, or Qatar, or Qatar, however you want to call it. According to Fort Worth, Texas-based airline Etihad and Qatar were both given notice on the June the 29th of its decision to end codeshare flights after the close of business on March 24th, 2018. The cancellation of the agreements, which allow the airlines to sell tickets on one of each other's flights as if they were their own, comes amid tense dispute between US airlines and their Middle Eastern rivals over allegations of illegal subsidies. Ooh. On Thursday, American confirmed that Qatar intended to continue with its plan to acquire an unsolicited equity stake in the airline. In a statement, American Airlines wrote that in light of our ongoing dispute over the Open Skies Agreement, American Airlines notified Etihad Airways and Qatar on the 29th of June of our decision to terminate our codeshare relationships. Given the extreme strong public stance that American has taken on the ME3 issue, we have reached a conclusion that the code-sharing relationships between American and these carriers no longer makes sense for us. The decision has no material financial impact on American and its extension of our stance against the illegal subsidies that these carriers receive from their governments. It's kind of, it's a bit shocking news, I suppose, really, because this, I thought, was quite a wealthy or profitable code share between, obviously the Middle Eastern three and American. So, either they can go into a boxing ring and fight this one out, or what? I don't know.
I mean, they're sort of suggesting that it's sort of not much notice, if you like, has there been sort of fights, if you like, going on in the background? Has there been discussions going on in the background about it?
No, I think it's to do with the fact. I think American think that the Middle Eastern three, the big three, Qatar, Emirates, and Etihad. American think that they're getting kind of better deals in certain things, so that's annoyed obviously American, so they've decided to
pull the plug.
Matt, this argument's been going on for years.
Really?
The Open Skies Agreement started, I think, sort of late 90s, early 2000s, so nothing's really changed since then.
Okay.
So the big three American airlines have got a bit of a bee in their bonnet about the big three Middle Eastern airlines receiving what they say are illegal state subsidies.
Right.
Well, it goes both ways, because you could certainly argue that the US airlines and most other airlines in the world receive some sort of state benefits.
Yeah.
US airlines received all this, what do they call it, Chapter 5, Chapter 7, or whatever it is, protection, so they, didn't make any losses on going bankrupt.
Right.
Pensions were protected and all of that. So, everyone does it. It's a tit for tat. But I don't know why they're picking on... Well, I do know why they're picking on the Middle Eastern big three, because, as I say, loads of airlines around the world receive state benefits. Malaysian Airlines, China, loads, absolutely loads. But I guess it's just because the Middle Eastern three are the ones who are most hurting their profits.
Right.
So those are the ones who are sort of aggravating them the most, I suppose. But I think really, if they want to have a fair and more transparent argument, they really need to address the issue of airlines receiving state subsidies at large, not just the Middle Eastern three.
Yeah, it is a tricky one, as you say. It's I don't know. It's a shame, really, as you say, because there's been an agreement in place for quite a long time, by the sounds of it, and it's just it's a bit of a shame. Will it really make that much difference to the industry, though, if that's how?
Well, not really, because as far as I'm aware, the US airlines don't fly those routes anyway, so they're not, Qatar, although they're making money on the route, they're not hurting profits at American Airlines or Delta, because they're not flying those routes. I don't think.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a silly argument, because you could argue all sorts of ways. The Qatar and Etihad and Emirates, they buy billions of dollars worth of Boeing products. They employ hundreds of thousands of Americans in one way or another. So, to say it's hurting their economy, yeah.
Perhaps a bit strong.
Maybe not, yeah. Chapter 11. Thank you, Liz Piper in the chat room. Chapter 11.
Well done, Liz.
Good old Liz.
Always rely on Liz.
Yes, absolutely.
So moving on to our next story, which hopefully Matt will be able to read.
Yes,
or
indeed.
Not.
This is on the Sunderland Echo, which is not a newspaper I'm familiar with, but anyway, Ryanair. As its story too, it's always a Ryanair story, and it is. Ryanair has issued a plea for passengers to comply with its hand baggage rules to reduce delays. The low-cost airline said some travellers are flying with bags that exceed the maximum dimensions allowed. This can cause disruption as they struggle to fit them into the aircraft's overhead lockers. Many passengers refuse to pay for checking in their luggage, as fees can reach £60 for each 20-kilo bag when booked online. Ryanair said in a statement that its flights are 95% full this summer, so passengers must comply with baggage rules. The airline chief marketing officer, Kenny Jacobs, you can always rely on Kenny Jacobs for pleasant and unbiased comment, warned that the airline's hand luggage allowance of one normal cabin bag and one small bag, such as a handbag or laptop, could be reduced. Unless passengers change their behaviour. He said, "We've noticed some customers are bringing larger than permitted bags on board, which can cause delays, and our policy may be reviewed should this practice continue. As we enter the peak summer period with many full flights, we urge customers to ensure that they travel with less carry-on bags where possible. Our aircraft can only carry 90 larger carry-on bags, and our gate agents will rigorously enforce our carry-on policy to avoid flight delays and ensure that enjoyable travel experience can be had for all customers. Any customers who wish to carry on larger baggage are advised to purchase a check-in bag." Well,
I have to say, all the last couple of years that I've flown with Ryanair, because I do use them, because they generally tend to work out to be the cheapest airline to fly to Malta on. The last few times we've flown with them, we've had to put our carry-on suitcases in the hold as opposed to the overhead bins, which is not brilliant. But they do ask at the gate, if anyone's got like especially an oversized bag, which they'll charge you more money for anyway. But anyone who's carrying a bag which they don't mind going in the hold, they do put them in the hold for free.
Yeah, they do.
It's getting more and more regular now.
They've got to make up their mind, though. I mean, this was the airline way back that talked about the fact they didn't want checked baggage and, bring it all into the cabin. And now that's obviously clearly not working. It hasn't worked for a long time. So they can't have it both ways, really, can they?
The thing that bothers me as well is actually because the people that are getting at the neck are the cabin crew. I mean, and it's not really their fault, is it? I mean, people are aware of these rules and regulations before they go. I mean, I must admit I've only been funny with cabin crew once because I had a wedding video on a hard drive that was not going to go in the hold. I didn't care what I had to do to keep it with me, but there was no way that was not, and it wasn't a detriment towards the cabin crew. It was more my concern as to how my bag would be treated by the baggage handlers, given the precious contents, if you like, that was inside it. And I suppose there are many people who perhaps have that similar argument to what I had about why they wanted to keep their bag with them, I guess. But I mean, I was lucky.
I was going to say, Matt, on that kind of note, I mean, how many of us sitting here or there or wherever you are in the studios around the UK have been in the queue for boarding a flight and seen someone with a carry-on that is clearly obviously way too big to be taken on as a carry-on? Because I have. And I'm pretty sure we all have. We all have,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of accept that people are going to try it on, don't you? But as you say, and these things are clearly way too big to go. They certainly won't fit in the basket, that you're supposed to test the thing with. But anyway, we could talk about this for ages and ages.
I know,
but I think we should probably move on.
So moving on to the next story. This one is a special one just for you, Nev.
It's a BA one. And do you remember that BA 777 that caught fire?
There was
in
a
Las Vegas. A slight engine hiccup there, and very smoky business it was. Well, it's back in service, you'll be pleased to know. And back on September the 8th, 2015, I can't believe it was that long ago, the left engine on flight 2276 exploded in a fireball during takeoff at McCarran International Airport. At about 90 knots, the left engine, the number one engine, yes, obviously, had a catastrophic failure. In other words, it basically exploded, says Keith Mackey, an aviation expert and former pilot. The catastrophe crippled the Boeing 777, which took 6 months to repair at an estimated cost of several $1 million, and the $200 million aircraft finally returned to flight on the 25th of February 2016 and to commercial service a month later. The aircraft has also been assigned a new number for its British Airways travels. It's now known as Flight 2263. And the Boeing 777 has got a registration number of Golf Victor India India Oscar, which allows its flights to be tracked. Yes, we know that. And
Really?
It currently ferries passengers on non-stop flights between London and Jamaica and London and Orlando, Florida. I have actually been on this actual airframe before it had its engine problem, by the way. I went to Orlando on it for a business trip some years ago. But so it's back in the air now, so that's good, isn't it? So it's quite interesting because judging by the amount of damage that was going on, and that fire was well alight for some time, I'm surprised that they've managed to get it as airworthy as they have. But no, it's all good.
Somebody must have signed off on it, I guess. That is the one thing. Before we move on to the next story, just received an email via the old, because the only thing I seem to be able to monitor here in the studio are the podcast emails. And we just had one from Barbara Parrish. She says, help in gridlock. Trying to listen to PTUK on the M25 to keep me sane. Gridlock on the road for 6 hours. Taken me 6 hours to get to the M25 from Nottingham. The M25 is closed from junctions 29 to 30 now. If memory serves, those two, that is Dartford, isn't it? 29 and 30.
Yeah, or Dartford, as I call it.
Total bedlam. Help, love, Barbara. So we are thinking of you, Barbara. Good luck with what I can only describe as the nightmare that is M25 on a Friday night.
Yes. So moving on, the next story. This one is a special safety story just for you, Pip.
Yes. Well, this story, I think, was inevitable at some point, wasn't it? Just a matter of time. So, a tourist has died after being blown by the jet engines of a Boeing 737 at St. Martin, that famous airport. We've all seen the YouTube videos of people standing on the beach while 747s take off and cause havoc. The 57-year-old woman was injured after the plane took off from the infamous Princess Juliana International Airport on St. Martin in the Caribbean. The airport is known for how low planes pass over the nearby Maho Beach, and the woman was thought to have been holding onto a fence with her family while watching the aircraft take off yesterday. The victim from New Zealand died a short time after being hurt at approximately 6 p.m. The rest is just a quote. Tourists have often visited Maho Beach so they can film planes passing above their heads. Plenty of videos have been posted online show aircraft passing as low as 100 feet. That's a dumb sentence, isn't it?
Mm.
Aircraft have to go low to land. That's just
really?
one of the things you've got to do when you land.
Outrageous. Who'd have thought that an aircraft would have to get near to the ground in order to make contact with the ground to land safely?
It's just part of every textbook landing, I'm afraid. There are signs warning members of the public not to get too close to the runway. But everyone does it. It's I'm amazed that there hasn't been a serious incident or fatality before now. I've seen plenty of videos on YouTube with people being literally blown off their feet and away into the distance when these things get going. It's really quite an awesome force. And you see all these people grabbing onto the fence, holding on for dear life. And I guess this woman has just got unlucky, taken a tumble and hit something hard with her head, and unfortunately.
It is a terrible shame. I've just said that in the chat room. It's a real shame this has happened. But on the other hand, this is a real iconic place to plane spot, and I hope this doesn't kind of shut the entire area off for the people who want to go and experience this sort of thrill.
I mean, I guess you have to sort of accept, though, that when you do go and do something like this, and obviously you're close to, any relatively sane human being will be aware that there are risks involved in going to this viewing area to sort of watch these things. I mean, have we really lost sight of our minds that we don't accept any risk for the things that we do these days? I mean...
To be fair, though, I wonder just how many members of the general public are aware of just how much force, how much thrust is coming out of the back of, a 747.
Yeah, no, fair point.
You and I and all the guys in the chat room might be aware of it, but I bet everyone's not. And of course, they've all seen videos of thousands of other people without any repercussions. So, what's the first thing you do when you get there? You go and stand on the beach.
You go and stand on the beach and watch them come into land. Yes, no, that's fair.
I mean, this story was a 737. That this particular aircraft, which was creating this.
And that's a two-engine plane. Yeah.
I mean, what if this was a 747? It would have been
4 engines. Yeah.
4 engines as opposed to 2.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know if Pip's ever flown into Norrköping Airport in Sweden at all, but I used to do that route a lot from Copenhagen years ago, and the SAS guys used to run MD-81s, MD-87s out of there, and they need quite a lot of breakaway thrust to actually get the thing going, especially on the heavyweights. And the apron area there is not very big, and all of the passengers were boarding on steps. And actually, there was an MD-87 next to us that just used a little bit too much breakaway thrust, and 2 or 3 people on the adjacent stairs as the aircraft turned ended up, at the bottom of the staircase. So there's an awful lot of thrust coming out of these things, even at moderate power settings. So imagine something close to takeoff thrust is quite incredible, really.
Yeah, I bet. Mariana has actually made quite a good point in here. Can't they watch it slightly to the side of the flight path? Isn't that not something that can be done?
Well, I think the whole thrill is to stand directly behind it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, fair enough. Yeah.
I must admit, I've seen the videos, but I've always wanted to lay on that beach, on the back with the camera ready and just be flown over by a.
Yeah. What's the first thing you're going to do if you go to St. Martin?
Yeah,
I know. I'll be right there.
But you guys are at least. What I guess what we're getting at here is you guys are at least aware of the risks involved in doing that, and would, as you say, perhaps lie down rather than try and be upright as these things fly over. So,
I would be taking ear defenders, goggles, high vis jacket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's not the landing, Matt. That's the problem. It's the taking off. That's the really dangerous part.
Right. Yeah. I was about to accidentally read out Captain Jeff's message in the chat room there, but then I decided against it. So we'll move on.
So moving on,
Captain Jeff. I honestly I thought better of him. There we are.
I'm just gonna go back and read that.
Yeah. It's a real shame that I don't have your soundbar here, because that's what she said would be very appropriate right now. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on, Ron. Matt.
Yeah.
The next story is on. Here we go, dailystar.co.uk website.
Oh, a quality newspaper.
A quality rag, this one.
Yeah, indeed.
And the headline is budget airline launches flights to another one to America for £139. God, it's going to be like, we're going to get to a stage where flights to America are going to be like £3. But anyway, WOW Air have announced this week a new flight from the UK to the US for just £139. So they have announced a new route from... I've got a video playing here. I must just turn that video off. There we go. They've announced a new route from... what's that? From very... Oh, there we go. A bit of a...
Everything all right there, Carlos? Do you need your medication or something?
No, it says Carious. It should be various UK airports to Chicago with a minuscule price tag. The budget flights will depart from London, Gatwick, Edinburgh and Bristol. Iceland's only low-cost airline announced a budget fare to celebrate the commencement of its new service to the UK to Chicago. Flights at this price are valid from September to March. Skul Morgensen CEO of WOW, said that the commencement of our new route to Chicago is a fantastic milestone and a reflection of our continued growth. Our mission is to provide the cheapest transatlantic fares on the market, and through our latest fares initiative, we continue to deliver our promise, making vibrant destinations such as Chicago viable for travellers wishing to avoid heavy travel costs. All flights to Chicago will go via Reykjavik in Iceland, bringing in the city's diverse culture, offering dramatic skyscapes, acclaimed gastronomy and lively sporting scenes to the UK travellers on a budget. The service to Chicago O'Hare will operate 4 times a week from London, increasing to 6 times a week during the peak season, 4 times a week from Edinburgh as of this winter, and twice a week from Bristol. The approximate total journey time from London Gatwick to Chicago will be 11 hours, including the stopover. And you can go over to WowAir to find out more info. But I tell you one name that springs to mind, and Neville and obviously Pip will probably know this, is Laker.
Freddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he obviously was one of the first ever operators of low cost fares across the Atlantic, followed very closely by Virgin back in 1984. I think they started their operation from Gatwick to Newark. But this is almost like going full circle again now, isn't it? Where it was just a question of time before this demand was really made available. And we've talked about it and we've heard about it for some years now, but there really are these flights going to be available.
£139. That is incredibly cheap. So there we go. You heard it here first. So oh, there we go.
Thanks, Pip.
Who's listening to The Office?
Yeah. Yes.
So moving on to the next story.
Yes, indeed. And the next story is especially...
for you, Matt.
Yes, that's especially for me, and this is on the bizjournals.com website. And the headline is, Delta takes delivery of first Airbus A350-900 in North America. We have Delta Airlines Inc. Said Thursday it's taken delivery of the first state-of-the-art Airbus A350 in North America. In North American, I think they mean North America, with plans to begin service with the plane on the 30th of October on the Detroit to Tokyo, is it Narita?
Narita.
Yeah, international route. Delta said that the 306-seat A350-900 redefines the international airline experience. The Airbus A350 sets a new standard of flying experience for our customers, representing years of product innovation as Delta continues to transform into a leading global carrier, said Ed Bastian, Delta's CEO, in a statement. Our new flagship A350 fits well in Delta's long-haul network, combining an exceptional customer experience with strong operating economics and fuel efficiency as we retire older, less efficient aircraft. It's somebody explained to me what the difference is between the A350-900 and other sort of like not the Dreamliner, but the A380. What's the difference?
Well, the 350-900 is very similar to the Dreamliner, the Dash 9 in size. Okay. Obviously, one's Airbus and one's Boeing.
Okay.
But,
I know that much.
They have, I think, was it the A350-1000? I think had its first flight a few weeks back, Nev.
That's right. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's using again composite technology, so enables the cabin altitude to be lower than normal. So you'll get off the plane feeling somewhat more refreshed than you would normally.
Well, yes, and if the experience I had on the 757-300 is anything to go by, it really can't get any worse, frankly.
That we'll never hear the end of that.
No, you won't. No, frankly, it was the most... I
still maintain that the A350 looks like Zorro from the front.
Right, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I would show you pictures, but unfortunately I've got some technical problems here in the studio, so I'm unable to do that. Excellent.
That's what she said. Anyway, moving on to the next story. Nev, this one is all for you.
Is it really? I thought it was for Matt, but there we are.
I've just done it. I've just done
Matt's
one.
just done his one.
Oh, he certainly hasn't.
Yes.
Keep up, Nev. Keep up.
I was concentrating on something entirely different, which I really can't tell you about. I don't know.
Oh, hello.
Do you remember what happens when you've heard about people getting bumped off flights or when they've overbooked? Well,
Yes.
United Airlines has started a new marketing technique that would compensate passengers who give up their reserved seats in advance, so that the seats could be resold to last-minute travellers willing to pay a lot more for them. And the airline is working with a tech startup called Volantio on the project, which is called the Flex Schedule Program. And it works like this. Those who book their trips through the airline's website and who agree to take part could receive a message from United as much as 5 days before departure, asking them if they would be willing to switch to a different flight to the same destination on the same day in exchange for a $250 travel voucher. If they agree, then they would free up a seat that United could then resell to a last-minute business traveller for a much higher fare than the original passenger was paying. The technology would allow United to determine in advance which sold-out flights are most likely to see significant last-minute demand, and thus where flex scheduling would produce the best results in terms of revenue enhancement. This is similar to common practice of avoiding bumping by soliciting volunteers on an overbooked flight to take a later departure in exchange for a travel voucher. The value of the voucher can increase until enough people agree to be bumped. The difference is that the flex schedule would not be used strictly as an overbooking solution, but could be applied for any flight where United thinks it could raise more revenues by reselling seats on fully booked departures. United's thinking is that passengers who agree a few days in advance to change their flights wouldn't have to go through the anxiety of a last-second overbooking auction at the airport and would still get to their destination about when they planned, all from the comfort of their home or office. And the last-minute bookers would be able to snag a seat on the flight they wanted if they're willing to pay for a last-minute fare. The concept would obviously only work on routes with significant business travel demand and with enough flight frequencies to accommodate the passengers who agree to be rebooked. In an earnings conference call this year, United President Scott Kirby said that the airline was selling out its flights too far in advance with too many discounted fares and needed a way to make more seats available for higher paying business travellers who book close to departure. This looks like the kind of solution he might have in mind. Now, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because I think this is well, put it this way, how many times, I've been bumped off flights many times, and it's always a last-minute scramble at the gate, and it's not a very pleasant experience, I have to say. So to actually do this in advance, maybe 4 or 5 days in advance when they can see what the booking's going to be, might be quite interesting, and it obviously will raise a considerable amount of revenue for those the last-minute sort of business class flights tickets that they want to sell.
But then I suppose also it goes the other way, doesn't it? It gives everybody the opportunity, to sort of replan, if you like. So if you've got 5 days, you've got a better chance of finding an alternative route if you must go on that day.
Exactly.
Or because if you're going for a wedding or something like that, then obviously it's quite important that you get away like that. But perhaps if it's a honeymoon or whatever, it doesn't matter if it's a day or so the other side, perhaps. So this could be a smart move.
But with this prior notice, it would create less fights, I think, with United.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Any thoughts, Pip? I mean, how would you feel about this? Have you ever been bumped?
No, I haven't actually. No, I haven't. I quite like it. When I first read this, I thought, oh, geez, here we go. What is all this? But actually, thinking about it, it's a kind of a win-win for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah. If
the airline can make a little bit more money, then that's good. And if passengers are willing to be flexible and get a little money or a voucher in return, then why not? I'd certainly like to be offered the chance, if I can be flexible and get something back. I'd probably have a good think about that.
Because obviously
I think it's a reasonable idea.
I agree with you. I mean, actually, because I was flying United when I went out to Pittsburgh, and actually,
really?
yeah, indeed. I don't know if that came up in conversation at all, but coming home, I did actually tick the box to say if you want to sort of bump me, that's fine, and I didn't, which I was quite gutted about because I could have quite happily spent another 2 or 3 days in Pittsburgh, frankly. But there we are. I was having a really nice time.
So moving on to the next story. This one is Pip's.
That's me. This one, airliner nearly lands on other planes at San Francisco International Airport.
Ooh, are we sure Harrison Ford wasn't flying?
No.
That was going to be my joke. I'll get your own jokes, Matt.
No, absolutely not. Anyway, sorry.
All right. I'm not bringing
See,
it
this is the trouble, you see, because I'm starting to pay attention now.
up. Obviously.
What a shame.
Right. The pilot of an Air Canada plane carrying 140 passengers made a last-minute maneuver to avoid landing on a taxiway at San Francisco International Airport, where 4 passenger jets were lined up to take off. Federal officials said Tuesday they were investigating why the pilots, that should be plural, why the pilots mistakenly made his approach towards the taxiway instead of the runway just to the left. An air traffic controller ordered the Airbus A320 to abort and circle for another landing, which it did without incident Friday night. Some guy called Todd Curtis said it was definitely a serious event, since a landing on an active taxiway could lead to a catastrophic accident. In audio posted on live ATC nets, which records flight communications, the pilots on the plane from Toronto, an air traffic controller, sounded calm as the close call unfolded. All right, this is the ATC audio. Hopefully you can hear this. I'm just going to hold my iPhone up to the microphone here.
And Tower, just want to confirm this Qantas 759, receiving some lights on the runway there. Runway, can you confirm the clear to land?
Qantas 759 confirms clear to land, runway 28 right, there's no one off 28 right side, yes.
Okay, Qantas 759.
Where's this guy going? He's on the taxiway.
Huh.
There's he in the go-around.
In the go-around, Qantas 759.
759 looks like we're lined up there. Flying 280, time maintain 3000.
Heading 280, 3000, Qantas 759.
United 1, Air Canada flew directly over us. Block, yeah. This United 1, Air Canada flew directly over us. Yeah, I saw that, guys. 759, contact NorCal 135.1. We'll catch you in a couple minutes.
35.1, I guess 759.
United 1, we're going to get you going here in just. We're ready.
That's the end of the recording.
So just looking at it from.
Playing something else.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Music.
This is. It's a really slick show today, everyone. There's an
iPhone.
Indeed. Shut your face. What's this? So realistically, what actually happened here then, Pip? So what was?
Well,
who was at fault essentially?
From what I've
was he
read,
not getting information from the tower, or was it a mistake just by the pilot, or? What are the thoughts?
So here's what I understand. I've not done a huge amount of research. He was on a visual approach. In fact, check this out. I've got this already queued up. This is only for the people in the chat room, I suppose. I've got this is the approach chart for San Francisco. For that, is that coming out clear enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah.
All right. This is what's this called? This is the Quiet Bridge visual approach. Visual. That's the key word there. So what he's meant to do, he's not following an ILS.
Right.
He's following this line here, which is he's just visually tracking this line.
Yep.
In towards the runway. You can't quite see it here, but it's kind of offset. Here's the runway axis here. You see this?
Yeah.
That's the runway axis, and the approach axis is about 10 or 11 degrees offset.
Okay.
Whether that played a part in it, I don't know.
Right.
So you're meant to fly along here, and then at the last minute, I think that points at about 6 miles. You then line up with the runway. Now, I think this was at night as well. This was a night approach.
Mm-hmm.
So it's. I sent you a picture earlier, Matt. Are you able to flash it up?
No.
It's pretty obvious what's a runway and what's
not. Okay.
Not a runway, especially at night with everything lit up. So quite how he managed to get lined up on the taxiway, I'm not really sure. If he was following some sort of FMS track, so he was flying visually, but he was letting the aircraft follow a programmed GPS-based track, and it got just a little sort of cross-track error in it, perhaps of a few hundred meters.
Okay.
That might account for how he got there, but why he didn't notice much earlier
that he was in the wrong
is
place.
Beyond me.
Yeah.
But he obviously did notice at some point, because he questioned it. He said, "Hey, why is there a bunch of aeroplanes on my runway?" And the controller, as you heard, says, "There isn't."
Yes.
But he carried on regardless.
Right.
So whether I guess there's a lot of human factors issues cropping up here. Maybe they were fatigued.
Yeah.
I think it was about midnight, which was probably much later for them coming from Toronto. I think they were, which is 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So maybe they were tired, fatigued. I don't know, but they carried on. And I don't know if this part's true, but it seems to have been reported widely that they went around at about 100 feet above the runway, which is just about as close to the runway as you can get without touching down.
Right.
And they missed the first aircraft again by about 100 feet.
Wow.
In the go around. So
could have been
pretty damn serious accident, actually,
Yeah.
or incident, I should say. This could have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully it didn't, obviously, and everybody got away with it, I suppose. But I mean, perhaps they need to review their procedures to ensure this doesn't happen again.
I wouldn't have said the procedures are at fault.
Okay.
I mean, the procedures would be pretty clear. I mean, I think there's got to be more to this. There's a part of the story we're missing. It should have been so obvious. Maybe there was a problem with the lighting on that particular runway.
Okay.
But there's no way you can confuse a fully lit
runway with a taxiway.
Runway from a taxiway. It's unbelievable that could happen.
Actually,
I don't know what else is going on there.
Mark Harvey in the chat room has said that apparently Max Trescott talked about this on a post that Mark saw earlier. Mark says that the adjacent runway was shut down, so he did not see the lights he expected.
Okay.
It was no-timed. So he should have known about it. But then that's what he's read anyway.
But we know from obviously our when we were at Duxford this week that you can't always rely on people reading their NOTAMs, as we discovered in the middle of.
NOTAMs aside, I still say it would have been as obvious as the nose on your face as to which was a runway and which wasn't. So if the other runway was shut down and had no lighting, and so the picture he would have been looking at, he might have been expecting to see two great big lit runways, one on to the left of him and one in front of him.
Okay.
So instead, he's not seeing one to the left. He's just seeing a big bright one, which he assumes is 28 left, and then some other lights to the right, which is the taxiway, but he assumes is 28 right.
Just a quick question, Pip. Why do you think that they would have elected to do a visual approach? Why not do an ILS onto 28 right?
I believe there was no ILS onto 28 right. It was out of service. The glide slope, I think I read, was active. But to be honest, I think it's just a standard thing out that way to do these visual approaches, probably for noise abatement. Yeah. It sort of avoids the built-up errors. I'm just trying to find a picture. You guys carry on chatting. What was that?
That was a motorbike just went past the window here.
I thought you had some sort of appliance there.
Shall we go on to the next story while Pip's finding that? Next story is from me, this one. This is on the airlinegeeks website.com. This is not to be confused with the Airplane Geeks, it's the airlinegeeks.com. Headline: EasyJet graduates first group of aviators with professional aviation pilot practice degree. As of the 11th of July 2017, EasyJet announced that the first group of pilots with a BSc Honours in Professional Aviation Pilot Practice degree had graduated. Tuesday marked the completion of the first airline-sponsored PAPP or PAP degree. 7 pilots graduated from the program on Tuesday, the first of over 130 currently enrolled through Middlesex University. I'm thrilled to be graduating alongside my colleagues today on the BSc Honours in Professional Aviation Practice degree. This course has given me the opportunity to undertake a degree alongside my commercial pilot training, said EasyJet pilot Anna Grady. The degree is designed in a way that it fits very well in with the flight training schedule, with no degree modules required at key pressure points. For example, during the 14 ATPL exams that all pilots undertake, I consider the degree has taught me to be a reflective practitioner, continually assessing how I can improve my performance, Grady continued. Launched in 2013, the special program came to be as a result of a joint effort between Middlesex University, L3 Commercial Training Solutions, which is an airline pilot training and simulation organisation, and EasyJet, EasyJet and is run through the Institute of Work-Based Learning. Ultimately, the first 2 years are completed at L3's Airline Academy, while the final 2 years are completed while the pilots fly as first officers for EasyJet. And well, it's good news really for fresh young pilots, getting all their degrees, BSc in honours, if that professional aviation pilot practice degree. That's good. Perhaps that'll be where Owen will be heading soon, no doubt, with his progression through the various airlines.
Now. We never know. We never know.
No, but no, that's really good news, because it's hell of a lot of hard work that these guys put into doing this, and to be the first to go through this course and be enrolled and stuff, and finish and complete the course. No, it's good. Hats off to them.
I mean, the one thing that melts my mind with all of this thing, and when we've been talking to people who are learning to fly and stuff, it is terrifying how much money is actually involved in trying to become a commercial pilot. I mean, it's frightening numbers, isn't it? It's I mean, I'm firing this at Pip obviously because he's here, but it must have been quite a serious decision that had to be made with the view to thinking, right, this is what I want to do for a living. And we must be talking. I mean, I don't suppose you know the numbers, do you, that were involved in you actually reaching your end goal?
Well, I did a little while ago, so I didn't spend nearly as much as they do these days, and I had some flying paid for by the RAF actually, which is rather lucky. But these days, funnily enough, the guy I'm flying with now, his son has just been accepted into the KLM Flight Academy in Holland.
Oh, cool.
So we were chatting about that today, and I said, "Oh, that's fantastic. So is that a fully sponsored scheme?" And he laughed at me and he said, "No, of course not." I said, well, how much is it costing then to go to the KLM Flight Academy? And he said, it's about 160,000 euros.
Wow.
I mean, 160,000 quid almost. You buy a house for that, can't you?
You can.
So it's a serious commitment, and people need to think very carefully. But of course, when you're young and gung-ho and you've got big dreams, you just go for it. You don't consider what's 20 years down the road when you maybe got a family and a mortgage and all the rest of it.
Well,
but hey, that's the way it is, and that's what people have got to do these days, it seems.
Well, and one of my friends, he'd actually done. He got enough hours in the book and all that kind of thing, and he just couldn't get himself a flying job at the end of the day, and he got. I know he sort of left it. He got just a ground crew job because he wanted to do something with aviation, and he was based out of Gatwick. EasyJet. Then he finally got a position at EasyJet, and it all just fell through at the last minute, and that was it. All of his, and now a lot of his things have lapsed, and so he just hasn't got the money to bring them back online. This is the difficult
it can
thing,
be a cruel path, and it just never ends. Once you've got your hours and you want to find that first job, which these days is typically with the likes of EasyJet or Ryanair. Yeah. Well, then you got to pay the Ryanair a hefty sum of money just to go and work there for a bit. It's a crazy old game, but I see just today Ryanair again pleading for new pilots. They are offering more and more sort of incentives to go and work for them. So maybe things are slowly turning around here in Europe. They already did in the States because they got a big pilot shortage.
Yeah, they keep mentioning this. They keep mentioning this word, pilot shortage. And
without a doubt, there is a pilot shortage. It's just various parts of the world are a bit more proactive in tackling it. I think here in Europe we've been a bit slow.
Yeah. If it wasn't so expensive to learn to fly, and I see the reasons why it is, but if it wasn't so expensive, if there were more training schemes or funded or some kind of airline funded schemes, I think we wouldn't have a pilot shortage. There'd be a lot more younger people who would be, more in, they'd want to do it. They'd want to become a pilot. Do you see where I'm coming from? It's very expensive.
I think those days have gone. Back in the 70s and 80s, that was the way it was done. You either went to the military or you got a fully sponsored course with an airline. But I don't think we'll ever see that come back. I think people.
It's a shame.
They're going to have to pay the way. Yeah, but I would never discourage anyone from pursuing their dreams. If that's
no.
If that's your dream and you're passionate, then for goodness sake, go for it. Life's too short. But it's a hefty burden to take on.
I'm just going to take small umbrage, if I may. Welcome to Dr. Steph, who's just joined us in the chat room.
Oh, hello,
here.
Dr. Steph.
Unfortunately, one of the first things that she said in the chat room is that I need a nap, which is slightly offensive. So I don't know whether she's come here in order to ensure she can get her nap or what. But there we are. Welcome to the chat room, I think, Dr. Steph.
So moving on, so we can try and put Dr. Steph to sleep a bit easier.
Well, the good news is
story.
It's my turn to read, so
Yes.
I have a habit of putting people to sleep when I'm not reading, so who knows. This is on the Outlook.
Actually, this story is specially for Dr. Steph.
Is it? Right, okay.
I love this story, by the way.
IPA connoisseur.
Okay, right. So this is on a slightly odd website.
2017.
Behave. The Outlook India website, and the headline is Australian plane passenger checks in can of beer. This guy's done it, and he's won the internet for the day, so we're happy to move on, a spokesman said in a statement to the BBC. So this is in Melbourne. This took place on July the 12th. A beer-crazy Australian man has successfully checked in a can of lager as his only luggage on a domestic flight, but the airliner hopes others will not follow his prank. For a laugh, Dean Stinson, a data research analyst, checked in the can of Emu Export. That just sounds horrific. Lager on a Qantas flight from Melbourne to Perth last Saturday. The can arrived tagged and unopened as the first item on the baggage carousel at Perth Airport after a 4-hour journey from Melbourne. There was no luggage out yet, but everyone was milling around and had their phones out, so I was pretty sure that I knew what was going on, he told the news website Unilad. Stinson said he and a friend had come up with the idea as a joke. The airline Qantas said it did not encourage other travellers to follow suit. This guy's done it and won the internet for the day, so we're happy to move on, a spokesman said in a statement to the BBC. The airline does not charge an additional fee for checked-in baggage, the report says. Now, it's yeah, wow. It's
this
different.
had to be your
it's
story,
different.
Matt.
Thanks. Yes, it's a different story. I'll give you that.
Oh,
boy. I don't know what to say to that, really.
Apparently, Dr. Steph said she might try this tomorrow.
Right. Okay. Okay. Oh no. Brace yourselves, everyone. They're talking about food in the chat room again. Uh-oh.
No.
Abort. Okay.
So moving on to the next story, which isn't beer related.
No.
Nev, this one's for you.
Yes, you know that Beluga aircraft that Airbus have got, this very chunky-looking thing which ferries
Highly attractive.
Yeah,
parts
absolutely.
around. Yeah, it's not the most attractive.
It looks like a
aircraft I've ever seen.
dolphin, honestly.
Excuse me. Well,
actually, we saw it. It was actually at Toulouse when myself and Owen went there. We actually managed to get some photos of it.
I've seen it a number of times up at Hordern.
Oh, wow.
Up at Chester.
Yeah,
it's a regular visitor there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice aeroplane.
Well, that's as maybe, but Stelia Aerospace, which is a subsidiary of Airbus, last week delivered the first upper fuselage section for the developmental Airbus Beluga XL, the planned successor to the Beluga 600 XT, based on the A300-600 platform, which is getting on about that aircraft, that's for sure. The Beluga 600 XT is the swollen transport freighter Airbus developed for carrying oversized airframe components such as fuselage sections and wings amongst the different factories of Airbus. That the new upper fuselage section from Stelia measures 26.25 feet long by 29.5 feet wide and 26.25 feet high, and weighs 2.1 metric tons. The Stelia Rochefort plant in Western France, which built the component, also carries the responsibility for the huge cargo door weighing in at 6,600 pounds, which is 3 metric tons. And one of the Tier 1 suppliers of the program, Stelia Aerospace, also produces the nose section, including the cockpit, and German company De Hard Aerospace makes the central fuselage sections, and Spain's Aeronova produces the aft sections. And Stelia has recruited 510 employees to develop and industrialize the program starting in early 2015. We are very satisfied with how the program has developed since we delivered the first item on time, explained Stelia Aerospace's CEO Cedric Gaultier. The supplier delivered the first nose section last April, and Stelia's Rochefort factory also makes the ramp door of the Airbus A400M military transport, giving it solid experience with this kind of production. And that the new Beluga XL is of paramount importance to the ramp up of our commercial aircraft, explains Bertrand Georges, Airbus's director of the Beluga XL program. The current XT fleet is flying more and more, increasing its airborne hours from 4,000 per year in 2012 to more than 8,000 hours per year. Georges says that he expects the fleet to pass the 10,000 hour per year milestone by 2019. Based on an A330-200F airframe, the planned fleet of 5 Beluga XLs will provide 30% more transport capacity than the Beluga 600 XTs. For example, each one can carry a complete set of A350 XWB wings, compared with just one wing for the 600 XT. Similarly, it can carry more parts of the A320. In total, the new Beluga can carry 52 tons of payload over a distance of 2,200 nautical miles non-stop. And the final assembly of the first airframe started in January at the A380 factory in Toulouse, and Airbus expects the first flight to occur in mid-2018. And plans call for the first 2 aircraft to participate in the flight test program, scheduled for just under 1,000 hours. It expects the first airplane to enter service in mid-2019, when it starts transporting wings between Broughton, UK, Bremen, Germany, and Toulouse in France. After the first airplanes enter service, a new Beluga comes on every line every year until 2022. And the 5 existing Beluga 600 XTs, which will reach the midlife in 2018-19, will gradually retire from service, but will continue to fly alongside the XLs. The future remains unclear, but Airbus is studying possibilities for service with operators interested in oversized transport, it said. But at least one of the Beluga 600 XTs will go to the Aeroscopia Museum in Blognac, says Georges. And obviously this is a huge aircraft, and obviously the payload of 52 tons over that kind of distance is massive, isn't it?
I mean, it was sort of, when I saw it, actually, because it was sort of parked quite near other ordinary aircraft, and the actual length and things wasn't really that much different not massively different, certainly from the perspective that I had from the actual airport, and it was over by the Airbus factory where I saw it, and it was kind of a little bit, it was the height, really. It was so obviously much taller than anything else that I'd ever seen.
It's the width and the height, really, that it's got going for it.
Yeah.
That is what she said.
Indeed. Okay. Pip, I think the next story is with you.
Okay, this is all about noise. And this is from the East Anglian Daily Times.
Oh.
My favourite.
My
newspaper.
Yeah, my local rag, yeah.
Noisy night flights from Stansted Airport will be tackled in a new crackdown, a government minister has pledged. Transport Secretary Chris Grayling has outlined a series of measures to reduce noise at Stansted, Heathrow and Gatwick airports. These include new quotas on the number of flights. Mr Grayling said in a written statement to Parliament, "I'm fully aware noise is a major concern for those living near these airports, and that night noise is widely regarded as the most disturbing impact of aviation. While advances in new technology mean aircraft are generally getting quieter, the limits governing night noise at these airports has not kept pace with the developments. The new rules we're publishing today will encourage the use of quieter aircraft at all 3 airports by reducing the amount of noise these airports are legally allowed to make, and will give local residents a 5-year guarantee about the level of noise that they will be exposed to." Mr Grayling also pledged to do more to insensitize it. Oh, help me out, someone. Forget it. You know that word.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I've actually got the story up in front of me.
So. No, indeed. I'd love to be able to help you, but no, it's
incentivize.
Okay, is that even a word?
Incentivize.
Yes, they're making it up as they go along, I think.
That's a difficult word, that one.
Indeed.
Yes, that word, the industry to invest in quieter aircraft. Martin Peachy, noise advisor for Stop Stansted Expansion, said he needed to look at the proposals in detail. However, he added that the overriding wish of the campaign group was to see a progressive overall reduction of night flights. He says, "The flights are very noisy, especially at night, and in that area where we enjoy quiet ambient conditions at night. Yada yada yada. The story goes on a bit.
Yeah.
So kind of a bit general, not much detail there as to exactly what they're proposing. Just some sort of general political waff.
I mean,
to appease the local electorate.
I wasn't really that aware that. I mean, you hear of these things about sort of Gatwick and Heathrow, especially. I mean, these things are mentioned on quite a regular basis, aren't they? But I must admit, that's the first time I've heard anything about. It's the first time I've heard anything really about Stansted.
Yeah, to be honest, I think Stansted is probably more. They've got a night curfew at Heathrow, so generally things stop at about 11:30 and don't start again until 6 a.m. But I think Stansted goes through the night because they receive a lot of night freight operators in there.
Yeah.
But then, having said that, there's not so many people living around. The population around Stansted is not quite what it is out in West London or perhaps down around Gatwick. But yeah, still, it's.
Yeah,
same old stuff, quieter aeroplanes, less flights, but it'll never stop.
If you buy a house near an airport, then you've got to expect a bit of noise.
Yeah, you have, really.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I suppose it's. I mean, you could argue maybe that some of these people have been living at this, have been living in the area for a long time. And it's only really recently because there's a lot more flights now going into Stansted. So perhaps it wasn't so much of a problem before, and now it is. Maybe I don't know what the answer is. It's a tricky situation.
It's a sad situation.
Well, that is true. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is where we bring the commercial segment to a close. Now, bad news, podcast fans, because we actually have to say goodbye to our main man, Mr. Carlos Stebbings. He's got to disappear. So
I know. I am very sorry, guys, but we're being very, very kindly hosted by a lovely couple here, and they've agreed to take me and Father out for a few. Bevies in the local brewery.
Indeed.
So
okay, so we expect lots of tweets, please, of you going to the pub, which none of us are able to do because we're doing your show for you. But anyway, there we are. How rude. Yes. Everybody say goodbye to Carlos then as we let him go away. Take care, Carlos.
Be back in full form next weekend. Don't forget. And
yes, indeed. Thank you, Pip.
Can I just say before I do go, guys, can you make sure, please, that Matt sticks to the show notes?
I don't even have them in front of me. There's no chance.
Can I just say, Nev, you're in charge. Nev.
Yeah. Okay.
Leave it to me.
Yeah.
If we're flying an aircraft now, Nev, I would be saying to you now, Nev, you have control.
Okay, right, fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
On the second show, right? Well, we'll see about that.
No pressure, then. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very disobedient, Nev. You're in for a treat. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much, guys, for carrying on without me. But I shall be back on full form next weekend, and I shall also be sending regular updates, hopefully in tweets from Riyadh tomorrow. Before I go, if anyone's going to Riyadh who's watching the show right now, I know Tony S, Dan Hannington, you're both in the chat room, so I'll see you guys tomorrow at the show. If anyone else who's listening to the show now live is going to be at Riyadh, send us a tweet to the show. You know where we are, and hopefully I'll see you all at the show tomorrow.
Indeed.
Hey, look, before you go, what have you seen today, Carlos? Did you see the Phantoms arrive?
No, because I was driving here from East Anglia, Pip.
Yeah.
Have you not seen anything today?
No.
All I saw today on the way up here was a EC-135.
Oh, that's not that exciting, is it?
Indeed.
No.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, we better let you go, mate. So,
right,
take care.
Thank you. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, have a good time at Riyadh, Matt. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, and there he was gone. Right now, chaos, everyone. Let's see how much trouble we can cause. Okay, so while we're in this particular frame of mind, what we're going to do then, if that's all right with the legend that is Nev, is I think it's time for your little segment. So if you perhaps like to introduce it for us.
Yeah, by all means. Well, it was quite fortuitous this week. One of my industry colleagues was over from Australia this week, so I caught up with him and had a bit of a chat with him about the passenger experience. And one of the things I asked him about, of course, is this new Perth to London non-stop service that Qantas are offering in March of next year. And is that the sort of thing which he will be interested in flying with? So yeah, quite a good chat, and we were in a nice Starbucks just outside of St Albans in Hertfordshire. And anyway, yeah, all went nicely. And so yeah, please do play it out.
Hello everybody, it's Nev here again with Nev's Passenger Experience segment. On Tuesday of this week, I bumped into an industry colleague of mine, Peter Hunt. And Peter is a Brit, but he's based in Perth in Western Australia. He's lived there for many years and he travels all around the world on business. Peter is an independent acoustic and audiovisual consultant, and I've known Peter for a number of years now, and we got talking about the general level of airline experience and the general passenger experience, you know, the usual subjects that we talk about. And I was quite interested in talking to Peter because he does do a lot of domestic flying as well, especially in Australia and in the Asia Pacific region. I first asked him whether he was flying economy or business classes on these sectors.
In Australia, I tend to fly economy most places because it's only a 4-hour flight from one side of the country to another. But if it's on the way back to Perth, it's got headwinds, so it tends to be longer. And I use my points to upgrade. The difference between economy and business is significant, in my opinion. In economy, it's very much cattle class stuff, and cardboard boxes with food and tea and coffee in a plastic cup. When you get up to business, they take a little bit longer to serve the meal, and it tends to be presented a little bit nicer, and it does make the journey a little bit easier and a bit more palatable. They've also introduced the sleeper seats on the east-west routes within Australia as well, so that does mean that if you had a long day and you still haven't quite adjusted to the time zone, you're feeling a bit tired, you can doze off for an hour, which does make a difference. It's a thing to be forgotten, I think. When you're travelling east-west across Australia, you're travelling across at least 2, sometimes 3 time zones in the summer. And so if you have an early start in Perth and you've got a late finish in Melbourne and what have you, then your body clock gets thrown out even a couple of days. So having that ability to snooze is quite useful.
Now, a lot of people I've interviewed, we've been talking about British Airways in particular, obviously here, and the general sort of decline of service. Are you finding any problems like that with Qantas or any of the other airlines that you're flying with?
I think, to be truthful, all the airlines are having to find a way of making more money, and one of the ways of making more money is to stop spending as much money servicing their economy class passengers in the way that we used to probably 10 years ago. I remember distinctly a British Airways advert when I lived here with they served a full breakfast between London and Edinburgh, or London and Manchester, and London and Glasgow. And now I imagine you probably don't get that. I mean, I came back today on a Finnair flight, on a flight from Finland, and the economy guys were busy with their Marks and Spencer's thing, and I was sitting in the sharp end, and I got served a breakfast. But I have to be honest, what looked to me to be not particularly appetising for £4.95 to buy a half-eaten bacon sandwich wasn't really my idea of a good investment, I don't think. And I just think it's a shame, but it's probably the sign of the times. These guys are, you look at the airfares now. When I first moved to Australia in 1981, a return airfare was nearly £2,000 in 1981. Today, I can get to Australia and back for £600. And something's got to give. Either they were making too much money in those days, or we're at a normal point now. I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely declined.
Now, obviously, you can't normally do Perth to Heathrow in one hit, so you've got to stop off somewhere, with Singapore, Hong Kong, or Dubai, all sorts of different places. But of course, next year, March 2018, Qantas are launching their Dreamliner 7879 service from Perth to London non-stop. Is that the sort of service which would be of interest to you?
There is no doubt that service will have a premium cost associated with it. I think from an economy point of view, it's a long way. They do flights of a similar length. Certainly Melbourne to Dallas is a 15-hour flight. I think Singapore to New York is also a direct flight they used to do, which is similar sort of size. This is not the first time that flights of that duration have been done, but it is the first time that they've linked Australia and the UK together in a non-stop service. I have to be honest, the Queen did it when she visited for Chogham in 2012. She had a 777 which was loaded to the gunnels with fuel, and off it went in one direction, and it didn't stop on the way. Would I do it? I think I would if I was flying in the business class section, because you can stretch out and sleep and do what you want when you want to do it. I think in economy it's a long way, and you as life goes on and you get a little bit older, you get a bit stiffer from sitting in that position for too long, and it starts to become quite uncomfortable. I think for families with children it'll be popular, particularly when you've got small children, which can sort of spread out a bit across the seats, and the parents can spread out also a little bit. But there will always be people who will take it up, and there will always be people who will do it, yes, without a doubt. But I expect the prices to be at a premium.
Well, there you go. That was me talking with Peter on Tuesday of this week, and it's really interesting to see how Qantas are going to make this service work. Just for a bit of background, it says that the 14,498 kilometre service will be the first regular passenger service to fly directly from Australia to Europe when it begins in March 2018. And this is going to take 17 hours from Perth non-stop. In 1947, it took 4 days and 9 stops. So it's a big difference, isn't it? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that interview. That was a chat in the Starbucks in a Hertfordshire village just outside northwest London. And it was really interesting to talk to Peter. But let's hand over to the guys in the studio, to Carlos and Matt in the chat room. Would you want to sit on an airplane for 17 hours in one hit? I certainly wouldn't.
Well, yes, let's indeed discuss that, chat room. So how do we feel about that? It's I don't know, Pip, how do you feel about a sort of 17-hour flight? I'm guessing you've probably done it, knowing you.
No, not quite that long. I wouldn't fancy that in any seats, either in the cockpit or otherwise.
Yeah.
That sounds horrendous, 17 hours.
Yeah.
I guess you could probably survive it up in business or first. But wow, in economy, that's tough.
That does.
But also, of course, they are using the Dreamliner to do it. So again, with that reduced cabin altitude, maybe it might be a bit more manageable, possibly.
Possibly so, yeah. But I think it's just more the sort of the claustrophobia aspect. 17 hours being crammed in a small tube, 787 or 380. I don't think it matters too much, does it? It's just
the one thing, as I would say, is
area.
I certainly wouldn't recommend it in a 757-300. But anyway, that's just
you might run out of range.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah, fair point. Yeah.
That's a really lovely comparison, though, Nev. You mentioned there that back in 1949 it took 4 days and 9 stops. How far we've come. I remember my granddad telling me stories of when he was in the army, having to get down to Malaysia on these wacky old aeroplanes, and it taking a week and a half to get there via Aden and Timbuktu and Antarctica and the moon and everywhere else. And a week later they get there, and now we can go halfway around the world in less than a day.
Sort of overnight, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
it is
amazing, really.
It is. It's any feedback from the chat room there, guys, about it?
They're talking about food and drink again, I'm afraid.
So
they're not interested at all.
No, okay, fair enough. Okay, so we're just going to take a very...
Chat room, are you still there, chat room?
Yeah, who knows? We're just going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back after these quick messages.
Find this and other great shows at the Aviation Media Network.
TheVoicesInYourHead.com. The Plain Talking UK podcast is a voluntary project that aims to keep you informed with the latest aviation-related stories from newswires across the globe.
Producing our content does cost money though. If you enjoy our show, why not help us keep on the air by making a donation towards the server and website hosting fees through PayPal. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated.
Are you an Amazon user? If so, why not do your shopping through the link on our website? There's no cost to yourself, and Amazon pay us a small referral fee on qualifying purchases.
To find out more about the show and to meet the team, take yourself to our website www.plaintalkinguk.com,
or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/plaintalkinguk, on Twitter via @plaintalkinguk, or get in touch via email on podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. Thanks for listening.
Flybe 5823, Trent Dane for 23R Manchester, Wizz Air 6X, climb flight level 210, direct to Bretlands Park. United 123, maintain 280 knots. London 2TME, turn right onto Bravo, link 21 join Alpha, hold at Mora, Speedbird 472, LOC/TME, approach runway 27 left, follow the green stand 544.
That's enough air traffic control for today, Nat. Bedtime. Aviation media has long been the domain of the newspapers and magazines. Well, not anymore. I'm Steve Vischer.
And I'm Grant McCarran, and we're bringing aviation right into your radio.
Yes, we're making aviation cool and interesting for everyone.
Hang on, aviation's always been cool. Check this out.
How cool is this?
Grant, turn that down. Here at Plane Crazy Down Under, we've got pilots, engineers, air traffic controllers, industry leaders, even politicians dropping by to talk to us about the amazing world of aviation right here in Australia and occasionally New Zealand as well.
Wow, that's cooler than I thought, mate.
Find us at planecrazydownunder.com, on iTunes, or lurking about on other people's podcasts just like this one.
We've got crazy accents and lots of great aviation content.
And we promise not to talk about the cricket.
No, never. Not the cricket. Quack, 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 quack. What is cricket anyhow?
Something we win a lot. Oh, there
Oh!
Well, whilst we were on our little break there, they did finally mention a couple of things of note, shall we say. Lane Street had one great idea, was that you drink for 4 hours, sleep for 4 hours, repeat, and you're almost there. That's certainly one option. Mark Harvey, always very helpful. Did someone hear something? There was this weird, strange buzzing. So, yeah. They're talking about actually Glenn Towler, one of the regular listeners to the show. Glenn's flight today, Wellington to Atlanta, so many time zones. This is what Liz Piper has written, saying that it's a 22-hour trip for Glenn. I must admit, I think mine was a 26-hour flight. I did before I had my incidents that we won't talk about. I flew from Heathrow to New Zealand, and that was a 26-hour flight by the time everything had all gone on. But yes, other than that, yes, as usual, it's all about food in the chat room. So maybe we should move on to some military stories. So Pip seems to have disappeared, but other than that, is everybody ready?
Yes.
Let's go. Liz was actually saying that Glenn, he leaves on Saturday, but he also arrives on Saturday, which is quite clever. But anyway, yes, so we'll go straight on to the first story. I'll take this one, if I may. This is on the Royal Air Force website, and the headline is Defence Secretary announces new maritime patrol aircraft squadrons. So the Defence Secretary announced the numbers of the UK's 2 new maritime patrol aircraft squadrons and the first commanding officer on Thursday the 13th of July 2017. 9 new PA-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft will be operated by number 120 Squadron and the number 201 Squadron from RAF Lossiemount in Moray. 120 Squadron was the RAF's highest scoring anti-submarine unit in the Second World War with 14 kills. 201 Squadron can trace its origins back to the formation of the number 1 Squadron, Royal Navy Air Service in 1914. Wing Commander James Hanson will oversee the formation of the 120 Squadron from April 2018. 201 Squadron will form in 2021. The aircraft's key role will be to help protect the UK's submarine deployed nuclear deterrent and its 2 new aircraft carriers. The UK government is investing £3 billion over the next decade in its maritime patrol aircraft capacity. Defence Secretary Sir Michael Fallon said, "Our 9 new Poseidon aircraft are part of our plan to monitor and deal with increased threats to our country. They can operate at long range without refuelling and have the endurance to carry out high and low airborne, maritime and overland surveillance for extended periods, keeping us safe. The P-8A aircraft will allow us to work more closely with our allies, improve our surveillance coverage, and will provide value for taxpayers' money." The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Sir Stephen Hillier, said, "Today is an important milestone in the P-8A Poseidon programme, which will bring to the Royal Air Force an unrivalled maritime patrol capacity. The advanced state-of-the-art sensors aboard the P-8 A will provide global protection to UK, NATO, and our allies' submarines and warships, and enhance and complement the UK's standing search and rescue responsibilities. It's also a great pleasure to welcome back 120 and the 201 squadrons. Both have long and distinguished records serving in the maritime role, and together they will help forge the next generation Royal Air Force. So, yes, very exciting news for RAF Lossiemouth. As I say, they're welcoming 2 new squadrons, which is great news. So, anybody know anything about the P8A?
No. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough. Pip, do you know anything about it? This is where we need Jonathan Warner, isn't it?
We did. I'm pretty sure we saw one at Riyadh last year.
Yeah.
And I think there's a movie named after it as well.
Right, the Poseidon event, yes, okay, indeed.
But that's about it. But this is long overdue. The UK's been without effective anti-sub capability for years now, since we prematurely got rid of the Nimrod.
Yeah.
Which was a crazy decision. We got rid of it. And the Nimrod, although it was an old aircraft, it had some of the best available anti-sub kit in it. It was absolutely first rate, and from what I understand, we sold it all to the Americans, and 5 minutes later realised we didn't have any anti-submarine stuff, and then started renting it back from the Americans at twice the price we sold it for.
Of course, yes. That sounds very British. Yes.
Another stunning deal from our UK government.
Excellent.
How long do you think that we could have kept the Nimrod going for, in terms of parts and spares and that kind of thing, Pip?
Oh gosh, it's a good question. I think there's a will, there's a way, I suppose. I think that the RAF has a pretty long and distinguished history in keeping aircraft airborne years past their sell-by date.
Yeah.
I mean, for goodness sake, we were still flying the Shackleton until not so many years ago.
And Mark Harvey has very kindly said in the chat room to help me out here. He says it's based on the 737 maritime reconnaissance replacement for the faithful Nimrod, which is what you were just saying there. But
yes.
It's
in which case, yes, the 737. I remember now. We definitely did see one at Riyadh, and we interviewed the pilots, I think, if I remember correctly.
We probably did. Yes. I wish my memory was better, but yes, there we are. Nev, if you could take the next story, please, I would be most grateful.
Yes, this is from Flight Global, and it talks about the fact that the US Air Force investigation blames a Lockheed Martin F-35 engine fire last September at Mountain Home Air Force Base, Idaho, on strong tailwinds, according to an accident report released by the service this week. Winds as high as 30 knots blew during as the Pratt & Whitney F135 engine began a start sequence, forcing hot air into the Honeywell Integrated Power Packages inlet. As air temperatures rose inside the IPP, a mini engine that supplies electric power and starts the engine, which I guess is like an APU by the sounds of it, a series of malfunctions occurred. The lower density of the air produced insufficient torque needed to start the engine, which slowed the rotation of the turbine section. At the same time, fuel continued to supply the engine at an increasing rate, which spurred an engine fire that burst from the exhaust. The tailwind spread the fire across the aircraft and caused significant damage to a portion of the aircraft's aft section. The fire surrounded the engine's exhaust nozzle, damaging several nozzle segments as well. The pilot escaped but sustained minor injuries, including burns on his head, neck, face and ears, the report states. The service has not yet determined the total costs, but estimates aircraft damages will cost over $17 million. The report also lays blame on a lack of pilot awareness and training for tailwind conditions during an engine start. A pilot's checklist included a warning that strong tailwinds during an engine start could cause an IPP failure, but the checklist made no warnings about the tailwind limit. The heavily automated F-35A engine start process also led pilots to believe that the aircraft handled most of the start procedures, and pilots assumed that there were no problems if the dials were green, according to the report. Preponderance of evidence shows that if there had been an expectation of engine startup problems with the tailwind, the pilot may have relied less on aircraft automation and may have identified an abnormal engine start earlier, writes USAF Colonel Dale Hetker, who conducted the investigation. The vague awareness led to inadequate training for engine starts with a tailwind. Training also resulted in complacency and an over-reliance on aircraft automation. Well, we've heard that before, but we don't normally talk about aircraft automation during a start sequence, do we? So
no,
that's interesting, isn't it?
Indeed, it's a funny old one, really. Pip, can I trouble you to take the last story, please?
That would be my absolute pleasure. Okay, here it is. This is from Flight Global. That is a genuinely good website, flightglobal.com. The United States Air Force calls for drone defenses after F-22 overflight. In the course of one day last week, the Air Force counted 2 reports of small drones interfering with operations at an ACC base. Mike Holmes told the audience in Washington, D.C. this week. In one incident, a Lockheed Martin F-22 almost collided with a small drone during its final approach, and during another, a gate guard watched a drone fly over the top of a gate and tracked the vehicle as it flew over the flight line. Well, that's a bad thing, isn't it?
It's not good news, is it?
No, it's not. Quote here, "I have no authority given to me by the government to deal with that," this guy says. "Imagine a world where somebody flies a couple of hundred of those and flies one down the intake of my F-22 with just a small weapon on it." While ACC has no authority to disable or track UASs near its base, the Air Force's nuclear sites are working on getting government approval for a deal with gate-crashing drones. Earlier this year, the head of Global Strike Command lamented the complex web of government agencies that must approve a drone defense strategy. "It's not a military authority, it's a civil authority that can be executed by military forces," Holmes says.
Splendid.
The rules are basically the same as if it were a civil aircraft. If it was a civil aircraft, I could track it back to where it started from, and I could admonish that pilot or take their license, where the small UAS is really hard to get after. Final paragraph. "The UASF will receive approval for the nuclear bases first, and Holmes will request Air Force headquarters to extend those authorities beyond the global strike assets," he says. The United States Air Force has already issued requests for counter-drone technologies, and industry representatives are vocal about their offerings, but the service still needs to wait for approval.
Yes, that is where we wrap up the military segment for this week. Couple of things that we're going to talk about, if we may. If you aren't aware, myself and Carlos, and hopefully anyone else who wants to come, on the 30th of July, on the Sunday the 30th of July, myself, Carlos, and whoever else is available will be at broadcasting live, on the Sunday from the Old Buckingham Airshow. That's on the 30th of July on the Sunday. We're going to do like we did at Seething, basically, and broadcast as much of the show as we can. And speaking of Seething, on the 20th of August, they've moved it to a slightly earlier time because it always used to be in September, but the Seething Airshow this year is on the 20th of August. That again is the Sunday, and we're going to be doing the show live from there as well. So if you're able to attend either of those air shows, look them up on Google, but it's the Old Buckingham Air Show on the 30th of July, that's on the Sunday, and then a Seething Air Show on the 20th of August, that's also on the Sunday. Now, several of us, unfortunately Pip wasn't able to make it, but myself and the legend that is Nev, we had a rather nice day on Sunday just gone, didn't we? We went somewhere rather nice.
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? And went to Duxford and to the Flying Legends show. The weather turned out to be a lot better than was forecast, actually, as well. We had to get the sun cream out as well at one point. Yeah. And I think it was a superb turnout in terms of crowd, wasn't it, Matt? And
it was.
Yeah, we did a lot of stuff there, actually. And yes, I think they did a very good job. And the whole thing I felt was organised really well.
It was.
Obviously, it was a two-day show, but we just went on the Sunday. But no, I really enjoyed it.
So, yes, our footage from the air show, and we got to interview a few people. We got to meet some of our listeners while we're there, and it gives me great pleasure to play that out for you now.
Good morning, listeners. It's Carlos here at the Flying Legends air display at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford, and I'm here with Matt. Hello. And also Nev.
Morning.
And we're sitting here on a lovely, comfortable picnic table with a slightly cloudy sky, but it's clearing out hopefully for the rest of the day. The forecast is quite good for the air show. Backing onto us is the runway, and behind us is one of the most iconic British aircraft, the Bristol Blenheim, the only one flying, serviceable flying in the world, which is quite good to see. And hopefully the Blenheim will be flying in a display this afternoon. We had a nice journey here this morning. Matt was my chauffeur this morning, and we left reasonably early, and I'm glad we did, because the queues of traffic were starting to build up quite a lot when we got to the car park first thing this morning. But we're waiting on a few of the listeners who are joining us here this morning, including the lovely Myla, who will be joining us later on this morning. But any words from you, Mr. Matt, about what you're looking forward to today?
It's really early. It's really early. We left the house I picked you up at 6 a.m, didn't I? I don't know why we end up with all these various jobs and we're leaving at stupid o'clock in the morning. I see one of these days we'll get to leave, maybe sort of mid-morning. But yeah, we've got here nice and early. One of the advantages about being here so early, we pulled straight into the car park. There was no traffic as such, but I think if we'd have left it another, as we were then walking over the footbridge, I mean, it was queued up. Yeah, literally a 10-minute window. It's now queued up back as far as the roundabout onto the 505. So yeah, it's really nice. We're sat up right next to the Flying Legends marquee, and there's a little sugar hut just behind us, and we've colonised a park bench basically for the day, which we don't intend on letting go now until we all go home later. But yeah, looking forward to meeting a few more listeners. It sounds like we've got quite a crowd hopefully coming to sort of meet up later. So it's going to be really good. But as I say, myself, Carlos and Nev are all here, and yeah, we're looking forward to seeing some displays. I'm going to sit here because I know nothing about these military things, so I'm going to sit here and read the Flying Legends magazine that we bought on the way in, or the programme. So I'm hoping to be better educated later in the show.
So Nev, you came a bit further to get to here today, but you had a overnight accommodation in 5-star hotel, didn't you?
Well, actually, no. I left this morning at about 10 to 6, but the traffic was great. I've never seen the M25 as quiet. It's beautiful. If only it was like that every single day of the week, it would make my working life a lot easier, I can tell you. But the most important thing is the bacon roll has been consumed. Yes. I'm going to give that about 7 out of 10. I don't think it'll be up to Al's standard, so we'll have to do some catering recce later on as well.
I must say, actually, we did had a little cheeky stop at a BP garage where the A14 and the A11 meets. If anybody knows this area will know. And there's a little BP thing, and it got like a wild bean calf and that. And we had a bacon turnover each, didn't we? And Carlos is rather prone to what I like to describe as cremated bacon and cheese. And
I like my meat well done.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely. And I had a normal one because I'm not weird. And that with the coffee, and that really did hit the spot. It has to be said first thing, but we're going to stop talking about food, otherwise we'll get in trouble.
We are here for obviously the aviation. On the actual flight line behind us, alongside the Bristol Blenheim, there is also a very nice lineup of Spitfires. Various different marks of Spitfire behind us, which will also be flying in a display this afternoon. And I do believe I haven't looked at the programme yet, but I think the Red Arrows as well are going to be flying this afternoon at the show. So it's all to look forward to.
We rudely interrupted Nev, so...
So anyway, Nev, so you've joined us today. It's very very good of you to come down. Our newest and most esteemed team member.
Well, yes, and really enjoying it as well. It's nice to rock up with you guys, and yeah, I think it's going to be a good day today. I was just talking to the organisers this morning, and they said they had about 13,000 people yesterday come through, and the security operative on the gate took my car apart for me on the way in. I don't think he was actually looking for anything. He just wanted to be nosy about my car. Actually, that's what the real story. But no, it's going to be a great day today. Looking forward to seeing some listeners and to chat to them. A couple of special guests I think are going to turn up as well later on, so that'll be nice to do some interviews with them. And the weather is set fair.
It is.
The cloud base is quite high, actually, isn't it? So it's ideal in lots of ways because it means we're not all burning to a cinder already. But as I say, the cloud base shouldn't cause any problems. I think we should get full displays today by the look of it because the cloud base is pretty high. So I'm just sitting here looking through the...
the Red Arrows are only on Sunday, so we're not going to see them today, unfortunately. On here, it's only Sunday.
What day is it?
Oh, it's Sunday today. Now. Oh God, that's That's a big faux pas there. First one there.
Yeah. So
to be fair, I did go to bed at 1:10 this morning. Okay, it's now 20 to 9. So.
Me and Nev will go and watch the Red Arrows then at 1:20 while Carlos goes and has a nap. Then we've got Spitfire tail chase and various Spitfire fly pasts around about 2 p.m.
Actually, what is bizarre is normally the Red Arrows are on at the end of the day. They're actually on as the first display team today.
Yeah, it's a good way to kick off any air show, though, isn't it? It's a pretty good. Well, I assume these timings are. They're alarmingly accurate because at 2:14, apparently.
Not 2:13.
Well, no, indeed. So I'll be amazed if they manage to stick to this schedule. But the naval fighters at 2:14, 2:32. We've got the Curtiss fighters. That's the P-36 and P-40s. 2:44, the B-17G Flying Fortress and the P-51.
That's going to be one to see. That is, yeah. That's the depending on what side you look at that one. That's the Memphis Belle or the Sally B.
Wow.
So whatever side you look at the actual aircraft, it's painted on each side. But
3:05, we've got the classic formation. That's the C-47A and the Beech 18s. 3:19, we've got the Luftwaffe North Africa campaign aircraft. That's going to be quite interesting, including a P-40F. In that 3:38, it's very specific timings, isn't it? 3:38. It's the one that I love personally, where we will see the Blenheim and the Hurricanes, the Spitfires, the Gladiator, and the BF-109E. That's obviously the Battle of Britain fly past. 3 minutes past 4. These timings are so bizarre. 3 minutes past 4. It's the Horseman. That's the P-51. Mustangs. 4:17 is the air racing, so that's the Comet, Mughal, Mystery Ship, and Cosmic Wind. 4:27 is the Douglas Transporters. That's the C-47s.
There's a few of them in that display, actually, the C-47s, so that should be good to see those in formation.
Yeah. 4:39 is the Naval Aviation, the PBV-1 Casno A and the FM-2 Wildcats. 4:48 is the Balbo finale, and at 4:52 it's the Jokers. That's the Gladiator and the Fury. So it's a nice little program.
A good lineup.
Flying Legends, yeah, very much so.
And just for the benefit of Micah, because we know Micah is a big lover of this particular aircraft, just over to our right, over towards where the Concorde hangar is, there is the PBY Catalina, which is parked up, but I can't see it on the display, but it is there on display on a static display today.
Yeah, I've misread the programme, actually. I thought it said at 2:32 it was Curtis Steigers was on, but it's actually Curtis Fighters, so that's obviously something different entirely. My apologies, guys.
A concert as well. Air show and concert. Exactly. Oh, so it's all in all, it's going to be a great day, I think. We're obviously the weather's good. It's a slight breeze, which at the moment is a crosswind on the main runway here at Duxford, which is not going to be an issue, I think, because it's not that much of a breeze. About 6-knot breeze here today. There are plenty of wonderful NOTAMs that have been released on the Aero Weather site, which I use for the flying purposes. So a nice list of NOTAMs for where people can and cannot fly near to Duxford. So just round up before we close up this little snippet of audio then, Matt, any last words from you?
Yeah, when are the bacon rolls?
You've already had yours. Okay. And you, Nev?
Yeah, as long as we're staying near to the catering concessions, and the lavatories as well, of course, that would be good.
And without Captain Al here, I feel it's our duty to ensure that all catering venues have been appropriately serviced to ensure that everything's well.
All right, there's some action as we speak. Hold on one second. Carlos is going to get his camera out, no, I think it's going to be a very good day today, and it's not too hot. I think they're going to be talking about 25, 26 degrees, but it's not going to be the full-on sunshine that we had the other day, so that's quite nice, quite manageable. And actually, the nice thing about Duxford is there's plenty of space. I know it can get busy here, but they've got all the parking nicely organised, and we were here quite early, weren't we? But that was a good thing.
Yeah, it is, very much so. I'm always a believer, because you can always kill time at the other end, can't you? There's nothing worse than sitting in traffic trying to get in and out. But yeah, that's where we're going to wrap up for the moment. As I say, looking forward to a good meet-up. And Carlos, do you have an update? What is that?
I think that's a C-47 now coming in. Yeah, C-47 just coming in to land on finals.
Some more people joined us here at the Duxford Air Show. And here's Myla.
Hello, good morning. The weather is great and we're having lots of fun, so it's good to be here.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for organising it, because I think if it wasn't for you, none of us would be here today, probably.
Yes, well, I'm glad that everybody joined us here today, and it's a lot of fun to see everyone. It's awesome. So.
Yeah, tell us about your flight training. What's happened so far?
So far I've had the introduction week, which is basically 1 week of ground school where they familiarize yourself with all the company procedures and safety issues and how things work between the cabin crew and the flight deck, and it's been very interesting. So yeah, I've had a good time.
How long is that course running for?
6 days usually. We've got 5 days at one location, then a 6-day at another location where we do emergency exits, going down the slides. We've been to the swimming pool to do the life vests, and we've done firefighting, so it's very practical as well as theoretic.
Are you enjoying it?
Yes, very much. I love it. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks very much indeed for coming, Mila, and we will see you later on, I expect.
All right, thank you.
Joining me here by the picnic table is one of our listeners, Tony S. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Carlos. I'm really excited to be at this Duxford Airshow. I've finally got to meet Carlos, Matt, Nev, and the lovely Mila, of course. That's the highlight of the weekend. We're going to see the Red Arrows, lots of planes this afternoon, so I'm really excited.
So, Tony, where did you travel from to get here today, then?
I travelled down from Teesside. It's quite a long run, about 3 hours. Stayed the night. Going to enjoy the air show, stay the night, have a meal tonight, hopefully, and back tomorrow.
Excellent. So, I have to ask, Tony, where did you find this podcast, this Plane Talking UK podcast?
Well, it all stems from Captain Jeff, as usual. Everything seems to emulate from Captain Jeff's podcast, and it's just a wonderful community, and it's great to listen to all these podcasts and finally meet the hosts.
Excellent, excellent. And this is obviously one of many air shows you've probably attended. What are the other more memorable air shows you've attended in the UK or abroad?
Well, this one's a good air show, of course, but next weekend we've got RIAT, which I'm really excited about because that is one of the biggest air shows in the world, and I'm really excited about that. I'm hopefully doing a long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
I shall see you there on Saturday then, Tony. Yeah, that'll be good. Have you done Farnborough? Is that another one you?
No, I haven't done Farnborough, but hopefully next year, if we're having a meet up there, that would be great.
There we go. If you're listening, Stuart Aslett, we need another meet up at Farnborough for 2018.
But actually, it's become very warm, so lots of sun cream is being applied.
I must say, actually, I'm quite looking forward to, because we have had about sort of 20 to 30 minutes of unbroken sunshine, and I'm a little bit, it's a bit warm in here. So I'm looking forward to some cloud cover.
Yeah, we can't overdo it, can we? Anyway, as Matt and I have been sitting here, another PTUK listener has turned up. Welcome to Barbara. Hello.
Hello, Nev. It's great to be here with everybody again. I made it in time, although there was a diversion. So I was slightly late. I'm sorry about that. But I managed to find you eventually.
How long did it take you to drive down?
It usually takes me about an hour and a half, but I think it took me about 2 hours. But the roads were fine. The roads were really great, because I've been to a few air shows and no problems at all coming to Duxford.
Good stuff. Well, it's going to be a great day, as we've said previously, and one of the first displays we're going to see is the Red Arrows just after lunch, so that'll be very nice to accompany our fat burger with, which I'm sure we'll find from somewhere. What's the catering situation, Matt, do you think?
Well, I mean, other than the obvious everything is hideously overpriced scenario, which I think is pretty standard for most air shows, I don't know, I think the thing that's grabbing my interest the most at the moment has to be the fish and chip stall. That one I think is probably where I'm going to end up, because I had a burger yesterday, so yeah, I don't think, yes, we've really got to stop talking about food.
And just finally, talking about food, what's your catering choice today, Barbara? What do you think?
Well, I thought Matt's choice would be that rainbow-coloured candy floss over there. So what am I going to have? A burger probably. Well, chips definitely. Chips and 99.
Oh, yes. You missed the ice creams, actually. We had the Captain Al moment earlier, which was very nice. Oh, the PA's fired up again.
Yes, well, I'm just coming off the back of a very fat week with Captain Nick Anderson and Liz Piper and goodness knows what else, and Adam Spink. So I really probably should just be drinking water and not eating at all. But this will be my last day of eating for some time, I think.
The last day of eating solids.
Yes, I think so. Right, so back later on, and we'll have some more news then. We always talk about the catering, don't we? But we've done that to death now, so we're not going to talk about the catering anymore. But what I like about it is the organisational side of things. It was really easy to get in, easy to park the car. I know we came early, but actually I thought the organisers done a really good job for the 2-day show here. And the number of people that are here, I don't know. I think they said about 13,000 yesterday. There's probably some more today. But the whole organisational ability seems to be great. And it's one of the things that you always fear the worst, concerts and events and things like that. You always think, oh God, it's going to take me ages to get in or to get out. But actually, they made it very easy today. So yeah, very impressed indeed. And I'm glad they started the show with the Reds, because that is a great trademark of the United Kingdom, and I think it's a really nice thing to show off. And again, to have the commentary going on at the same time, you could hear the RT as well. So that was really nice to hear all that. But yeah, we've got plenty more to come. So they've packed a lot in this afternoon. So that's really good. Actually, this sounds a bit odd. I don't come to a lot of air shows really. So just to see, especially some of the older stuff as well. I mean, I tend to watch some of the newer stuff. So I tend to when I do go to air shows, it tends to be, civil and modern military. But see some of this old stuff flying is absolutely fascinating. And what good condition the aircraft are in, and the pilots that fly them as well. They're absolutely superb. So really enjoyed it.
Well, this is my very first air show, and so far I've been surprised, I've been amazed. There's so many people here, so many aircraft, there's a lot to see. There are stands that sell things, and I'm just enjoying it all, taking it all in, and then tomorrow I'm gonna go through it again, and yeah, it's been amazing so far. Well, the first time I saw the red arrows, I was flabbergasted, and I thought, wow, this must be such an amazing experience to be able to do this as a pilot, and imagine all the training going into it and all the hard work and all the timing, and it's really perfection. So it's very inspiring. Yes, absolutely.
No, it's been a fantastic day so far. We've had some good tours around the static display aircraft and also in the hangars, and both me, Myla, Barbara and Tony went over to the American hangar, had a good look around there as well, which we thoroughly enjoyed. And obviously we just seen the Red Arrows display, which was a fantastic display as always by those guys. And yeah, and seeing the Spitfires all together there in formation, not just a good sight, but what a sound, what an awesome sound really. Yes, yeah, we went over to the hangar and saw the 002, the Concorde there, the one with all the equipment, the test equipment in which they use for testing the Concorde. Had a good look through there. Myla's first time on the Concorde, so she thoroughly enjoyed that. And there's also some great static display aircraft in that hangar, as well as some of you listeners might know of the Britten-Norman Trilander, which is a 3-engine propeller aircraft used for short flights up north in Scotland, between the islands up there. And there's one of those in the hangar here, and I hadn't seen that here before, so that must be a new addition to the lineup here at Duxford in the hangars. So.
Well, I'm just looking forward to the more air displays, and I'm going to look around the aircraft later on, the static airplane, especially in the hangar over there. I might go and visit my old Concorde. And so, yeah, and spend time with all my aviation podcast friends. And it's lovely to be with Myla as well, because I met Myla today. She's lovely.
So you join me here in the John Barleycorn pub, where we've come after the Duxford Flying Legends air display, and we've just sat down with our podcast family to have a wonderful meal here. We've all been very much spoilt with the choice of food. Roast beef, we've had roast lamb, there's been I think we all had roast beef and roast lamb, roast dinners, don't we, today, which has been really nice. But it's been so great to have everyone here with us today, especially all the listeners who travelled down to see us today here at the show. Even Owen's here, which is always a bonus. But we've had a fantastic day. The sun's been shining. We're all rather sunburnt. I shall probably feel this in the morning, I expect, when I have my shower. But it's been a fantastic day. That's what she said. Very true. But it's been a fantastic day, like I said. Matt's thoroughly enjoyed himself. I think he's been perusing the various outlets of sustenance, especially the sweet shop, which was also very good. But the great displays, we've seen some fantastic displays of aircraft. The Red Arrows kicked the day off with their usual fantastic display. And also we had a massive end of show display with P-51 Mustangs, Spitfires. There's also some Texan T6, I think, there as well, which are in the display. And it's all in all, it's been a really, really good time. So we're going to pass the microphone round the table to speak to everyone who's joined us today to tell us a bit about their day here. So we'll pass the mic over to Tony.
Thank you, Carlos. Yes, we've had a wonderful day at the Duxford Airshow. I'd like to thank the Plain Talking UK hosts for a wonderful podcast which has created a great community and has brought us all together here. So I've got to meet some new faces, some new friends. We've had a wonderful time, and I'll pass you along to the wonderful Myla.
Hi, it's Myla here. Thank you, Tony. I've had a wonderful day meeting lots of new people, and we're having such a good time here. We're in the restaurant now, and it's just a wonderful day, and I'm really glad to be part of this. So thank you very much.
Yes, hello, Nev here, and more food has been consumed, ladies and gentlemen, and beer, but nonetheless, it's been a great day today. Really nice meeting up with everybody. Perfect weather, and really superb. Of course, I've met most of these people before, but I've never met Owen before, and here he is.
Hey guys, it's Owen here. So I've met Nev for the first time. I've been meeting everyone here for the first time. It's fantastic to see everyone in the flesh. And I've just stepped off a flight. I wasn't at the air show, unfortunately, but stepped off a flight, and Philip managed to give me a lift down here, and we've been enjoying some really nice food and beer and some fantastic company, which is the main thing.
Hello, it's Barbara. Well, what can I say about today? It's been brilliant, very eventful. I did arrive a little bit late because of a diversion, but it's been worth it. And I've met Tony for the first time, Myla, and Philip. So it's been lovely to meet new people that I speak to all the time in the chat room. And it's lovely to see Owen again. I've had a great day. I'm not going to mention the food. It's been great, but I'm not going to mention that. I have to say that I'd really enjoyed these Spitfires today. Generally, they leave me cold. I'm sorry, but they do. But today, I've really loved them. So, turning a corner there. It's been brilliant. Thank you very much.
Hi, it's Philip Davis. Sadly, I couldn't make the air show either, same as Owen, due to work. But it's great to be here this evening with everybody. Wonderful company, lovely food, as usual, as we always do. Food.
Hello, Matt here. Obviously, we've had really quite a special day. I will just mention very briefly, as you probably saw from our Twitter feed, there was a very small, sad piece of news that was at the end of the amazing fly pass, because it was basically everything that was still on site as part of the big finale. Unfortunately, one of the Mustangs, I think I've forgotten what it was, the TF51, I think. I can't remember. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But unfortunately, one of those ended up safely coming down in the field. Pilot got out and everything. So, but really, the only very small, sad piece of news, if you like, on an otherwise absolutely wonderful day. It's been. I think I mentioned earlier, one of the things that blew me away was the Spitfires. It was nice to see them doing a full-on sort of dogfight type thing, because I mean, I've seen them in fly past, but everybody's always been so precious about them because they are historical aircraft. But to actually see them really going for it and sort of going in mock sort of dogfights and stuff was, for me personally, a real highlight, because I've never seen that before. As I say, everybody's seen one or maybe two as part of a fly past, but to see them really going for it was just great. And a lot of them all at the same time. I've never seen so many Spitfires in the air all at once. It was really quite magical, and it is something that is gonna be. I've been to lots of air shows, obviously, because of what we do, but that's really going to stick in my memory as a real highlight for many years to come. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye. Fair to say, we had an absolutely fantastic day at Duxford. I must admit, I really enjoyed it, and it was so nice to go out for a meal, as you heard during that segment, with a lot of our listeners. It really was quite a special day, Nev.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? And we packed a lot in, actually. And the key to it was arriving early. I know that we all left quite early in the morning, but it was really worth it because we managed to get ourselves established on a nice picnic bench.
We did.
And we're in pole position, weren't we, as well? So that was great. So it was really good for photography and audio and that kind of stuff. So it couldn't have been better. But it's one of the better air shows I've been to, I have to say. Certainly.
It is. And the Flying Legends is not something I was overly familiar with until we got there. Obviously, it was something that Myla set up. I mean, we only went really because we got an invite from Myla. She happened to be in the UK because obviously she's training for the airline that she's hopefully going to start flying with very soon. So she happened to be at Stansted, and that was all very exciting. So really, really enjoyed it. And as I mentioned in that segment, of course, the one thing I'd never seen before was this amazing fly pass of multiple Spitfires. I mean, we've all seen like one or two Spitfires doing a fly pass, but they were really going through the motions, doing a full-on dogfight. Really, it was just absolutely brilliant. It's highly recommended if anybody gets the chance to go and see the Flying Legends next year. It really is a stunning thing.
And do you know what the most difficult part of the whole day was? Which was right at the end when we're trying to split up the bill between 8 of us.
Absolutely.
That took about 25 minutes.
It did,
approximately.
absolutely.
Did Carlos not just pay for it all?
He
No,
should have done,
did.
and I told him that was the right thing to do, but no, he wouldn't have it. So we had to split it up, and it just went on and on and on. So we've got to find a new method of that kind of thing.
We have, it is. But no, seriously, that is where we're going to bring episode number 173 to a close. All it remains for me to say is thank you very much to the wonderful gents that I've been left with. Obviously, Carlos has had to disappear, sadly, but yes, gents, thank you for joining me. It's been a slightly strange show, obviously, with losing our main man halfway through, but thank you for doing such a sterling job of holding things together.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was great. Fantastic.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Cheers, guys. All right, from all of us here in the studio and around the various parts of the UK, it gives me great pleasure to say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbyes.